If you want to make documentaries, but you think you need more equipment before you can start, let me show you what I started with. One camera, one lens, a wired lapel microphone, my Samsung S9, and a tripod that I had to borrow. I had no gimbal, no professional lighting kit, no backup camera, and very little room for error. But I still made the documentary. The equipment was basic, but it taught me something, that better gear can sometimes make us forget that the strength of a documentary begins with the story and not the camera. Now, in this video, I'll show you how I worked around my gear limitations and the 4 things that you should focus on if limited equipment is stopping you from beginning. If I remember correctly, my first documentary was filmed with a Nikon D750 and an 18 to 105mm lens and my Samsung Galaxy S9. Later, I added a GoPro, which I mainly used for B-roll. My microphone was one of those wired lapel microphones with a very long cable. You had to plug it directly into the camera or the phone and then clip it to the person that you are interviewing. It worked, but it also meant that both the camera and the interview subject had to remain fairly close together. I could not afford a gimbal, so I borrowed a tripod and I learned other ways to keep my handheld footage steady. I have another video on this channel showing some of those techniques and I'll link it in the description. Now, was this the ideal documentary filmmaking setup? Definitely not. But it was enough for me to begin with. So what made the difference between having basic equipment and producing footage that I could actually use? It came down to 4 things. Four things. The first was understanding exactly what my equipment could and could not do. The idea is that you need to master the gear that you already have. When your equipment is limited, you cannot afford to use it carelessly. So I researched on how to get the best possible footage from the camera and the phone that I already owned. I learned their strengths, their limitations, and the conditions which helped them to perform the best. So things like light and all of those things. My Samsung S9 was capable of producing usable footage, especially when I gave it enough light and avoided pushing it beyond what it could handle. So just avoiding shooting in dark areas and so on. But phone camera technology has improved considerably since 2018 when I got the camera. Many affordable phones can now capture good footage when they are used carefully. Action cameras. Action cameras can also be very useful for documentary B-roll. Their small size allows you to place them in unusual positions, and their built-in stabilization can help you when you don't have a gimbal. So the lesson is simple. Before buying another camera, learn how to use the one you have to get better results. But image quality is only one part of a documentary. This next point or this next problem can ruin an interview even when the picture looks beautiful. Bad audio can make good footage unusable. Viewers may be able to tolerate an image that is not perfectly sharp or cinematic, but it becomes harder to stay engaged when they cannot clearly hear or understand what someone is saying. Now, if you do not have an ideal microphone, your location becomes even more important. You could find the quietest office or the quietest place, the quietest space. Listen for traffic, generators, air conditioners, music, or people talking, or any other thing that could compete with your subject's voice, and try to eliminate all of those distractions. That alone can improve the quality of your audio. On some projects, I had to move the interviews to the early evening or even nighttime, simply to avoid the noise and the bustle of the day. This was not a high-tech solution. It was just simply a solution related to proper planning. So you can record a short test before beginning the full interview and listen back with headphones if possible. A few seconds of checking before you record can save an entire interview, and that has really helped me in the past. Now, we've talked about audio. Audio was not my only limitation. I also had no professional lighting kit, and if you're studying filmmaking, you talk about lighting as really important. I didn't have that. I had access to the freest and most available light source, which is natural light. Everybody has access to natural light. and you have access to natural light, so you need to learn how to use it. So if you don't own a video light, you can place your subject near a large window and turn their face towards the light. Now, if the indoor space is too dark, you can consider moving the setup outside to a shaded setup. I've done interviews under trees before. Direct sunlight can be harsh, but open shade can produce a softer and more flattering light. You can also use a simple reflector to redirect light to your subject. And in some situations, you can even use a phone torch to produce or to provide additional light. Although you need to check that it does not create, an unnatural or distracting effect, because sometimes those phone torch lights can be really sharp and harsh. I just want to share briefly some of the typical documentary shooting scenarios that I've had to face in my experience in managing, limited equipment. Like I said earlier in the video, sometimes I've had to shoot interviews under a tree because it's open air and there was more available natural light. Sometimes I've had to, find a very quiet office, which is not the usual office or the usual space of the person that I'm interviewing, but just for the sake of clear audio. And there are times I've had to use my phone as a backup microphone, which I placed right in front of the subject while I was interviewing, just in case the lapel mic failed. Another situation is that sometimes I've had to carry out my interviews at night in the hotel. Sometimes I would invite the person over if the person was able to come, and we'll conduct the interview in a very quiet space. And sometimes, to be honest, because of the limited equipment, because I didn't have the right audio equipment or the right lighting equipment, I've even had to reschedule and redo some interviews. Let's even move away from interviews. Let's talk about just shooting B-roll or capturing scenes. That is why sometimes having your phone on hand can help you, because a phone is much easier to pull out when you're in a situation that you didn't plan for, a situation that maybe wasn't on your list that you planned. So you could find yourself in a market space or in a chief's palace, or just walking through a community, and your phone, or in many instances in my situation, was a GoPro camera or an action camera. So having the GoPro 11 in my pocket size, very tiny, I just pull it out and I start filming. And because it's so tiny and indiscreet, you're sort of shooting inconspicuously and nobody really knows that you're capturing. Sometimes I just set it up on a table or something and it's capturing the scene. And people are not aware, even though they know that you're there to film, but they can't really see the camera in your hand. So they act more naturally because they're not intimidated by large cameras and so on. So sometimes not having the big gear and the big camera and the big lights sometimes can work to your advantage, because when people don't see all those big equipment, they don't feel intimidated and they can feel more relaxed to be able to allow you to be there filming, even though they know you're filming. That's basically the point. I just wanted to share with you some scenarios in the past when I was shooting documentaries where I had to use not high-tech gear, very simple gear like my phone or an action camera, and I've told you how I dealt with situations around getting clear audio and also lighting. So let's get back to the video. Now, the goal is not to pretend that basic solutions will always produce the same result as professional equipment, right? I'm not trying to say you shouldn't still aspire to get the equipment, but rather the goal is to understand the basic principles well enough so that you can make the best of what is available. And that brings me to the most important part of this entire process. When you cannot solve every problem by reaching into a gear bag or by coughing out some cash to buy some solid equipment, you can solve a lot of the problems before you start shooting, before the shooting begins. And this is why planning actually became my most valuable tool. Planning ahead, planning every detail became the most important thing that helped me to shoot even with very limited equipment. You need to spend time developing the story before you even arrive with your camera. What's the documentary really about? What question is the documentary trying to answer? Or what message is it trying to pass across? Who needs to speak, or whose voices need to be heard in your documentary? What moments, locations, and activities will help the audience to understand and feel the story? So you need to think about the interviews that you need. Think about the B-roll that will support those interviews. And think about the different angles that you may need to shoot to be able to build a complete sequence or, create a compelling visual. Plan your audio. Study the locations by visiting them beforehand if you can. And consider the available light. Create a short list and prepare alternatives in case your original plan becomes impossible. Good planning doesn't remove spontaneity from documentary filmmaking, or it doesn't prevent you from being spontaneous, right? But it gives you a strong foundation from which to recognize and capture those unexpected moments. So your plan may change once real people and real situations enter the story, and that is normal. That happens. But changing a plan is very different from not even having a plan at all. So if limited equipment is preventing you from starting your documentary, remember these 4 things. First, like I said, learn to use the gear that you already have. Second, protect your audio. Make sure you have good audio. And third, understand how to use available light. And lastly, invest heavily in planning and preparation. Better equipment can improve your options, no doubt. It can improve your efficiency, it can improve the quality of your production. Some documentaries require specialist gear for safety and some particular shooting conditions. That is understandable. But many documentaries can begin with much less equipment than we imagine. My early setup was basic, but starting with it allowed me to learn, improve, and keep telling stories, and allowed me to build a portfolio of work that eventually attracted the jobs that gave me the money to buy the equipment I really needed. And there was another important lesson I had to learn. Even when you successfully capture the footage, you can still make the editing process far harder or more difficult than it needs to be. Now you need to watch the next video, which I have up here, where I share 3 documentary filming mistakes I made that created a real headache for me in the editing process. And if you want more practical lessons on documentary filmmaking, photography, and visual storytelling, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video real soon.